Hello, today I want to talk to you about Devia art. But before we can talk about art, we need to talk a little about science. In science, if you talk about something being transparent, what does that mean? It means you can see through it. If something is translucent, the word trans means through, loose means light. So translucent means light can pass through it, but you might not necessarily be able to see what's on the other side. So an example of that might be a frosted window or a shower curtain where you can see that someone's in the shower, but you can't see specific details. The third kind of material that we have is opaque, and that's something solid that blocks light. Now, these are terms that we use in science to talk about light, but as you can see from the header at the top of the page, we can also use these to talk about signs. That signs in ASL can kind of fall into these three categories as well. So let me give you some examples. A transparent sign, sometimes it's also called an iconic sign, is a sign that looks like what it represents. So you can see the picture there. Here's a video of me signing that word too. All right. It does not take a master's degree in teaching American Sign Language to figure out what that sign is. A person with just a little bit of logic and some experience in the world recognizes that looks like a cup or a glass, right? So that's what that sign is. It looks like what it represents. If you have a translucent sign, that's a sign whose meaning might not be obvious at first glance. But once you're given the etymology or the history, the origin of the word, then the sign is easy to understand. For example, the sign family. You see that by itself and you don't automatically think mom, dad, brother, sister, right? But when you understand the sign for a group and then stands for family, then that makes sense. So even if you hadn't ever seen the word team before or tribe, then you could, from context, figure out what that means. Oh, it's a group of something. It starts with a T. We're talking about sports. Team. That makes sense. So that is a translucent sign. First glance, you don't understand it. But then once you know where it comes from, oh, that makes sense. I've got it now. All right, so here's another example of a translucent sign. You might not look at that sign and immediately think coffee, but that's what it means. Because back in the day, that's how you made coffee. You would take the beans and put it in the black bowl at the top, and then you'd close the little drawer and turn the handle, and it would, the mechanism inside the wooden box would grind the beans into grounds, and then you could put that in hot water to make coffee. Today, that's not what making coffee looks like. But originally, that made sense to people. So that's why it's a translucent sign. Originally, it was very iconic because it looked like how you made it. But nowadays, how we make coffee has changed, even if the sign hasn't. So that's why it's a translucent sign. All right, the third kind is opaque. That's a sign that is arbitrary. So either somebody just said, hey, we need a sign for this. I'm going to make something up. And everyone else said, okay, I'm good with that, and stuck with it. And when I say somebody, I mean a deaf person. Hearing people can't just randomly make up signs because they want to. Deaf people need to do it, and enough deaf people need to start using the sign that it catches on. But so sometimes signs are arbitrary. They just made it up, or the original meaning is lost. Maybe it made sense at the time, but now we don't know where that came from. But we just do it out of habit because we've always signed it that way. This is the sign apple. Why? I don't know, because it's an opaque sign. All right, so all of this science and ASL was an introduction to lead you into meeting, ta-da, Chuck Baird. He was the founder of the Devia movement, and Devia is an acronym. It stands for Deaf View Image Art, and it's an aesthetic of deaf culture in which visual art conveys a deaf worldview. What that means is deaf people have a different way of seeing the world, a different perception, a different understanding of what they see. Devia art is a way of expressing that view of the world, their understanding of what things are. And Chuck had a very specific kind of art that he would use. Like I said, he was one of the ones who first kind of created this and was one of the fathers of it. They wrote a manifesto and kind of, here's our plan and here's what this means. And they had several conferences and stuff. But I want to show you some of Chuck's art and how he combined iconic and transparent signs with art of what that sign means. So for example, I've shown you some of these before, like this painting. It is an artist, right? He's got the materials, the media of an artist around him. He's got paint all over his shirt and stuff like that. And he's signing the word art while all this art is around him. So it shows the sign with the meaning of what that sign means as well. Here's one for sunset. This one is cat. It's called Double 9 Lives. Get it? Because it's 2 9s and the cat has 9 lives. And I thought that one was pretty creative. This is the sign America, and hopefully you already know that, but he used very iconic pictures of the American Southwest. He used the red, white, and blue on the hands to show the concept of America. This is the sign color. So her fingers are different colors to show the word. Earlier we were talking about the sign family. So there it is again. He's using mom's hand, dad's hand, and then the 2 children to create the sign for family. All right, here's another one. This is the sign for syrup, right? So he's pouring it on top of breakfast. And you can see the log cabin syrup picture there is actually a hand. All right, here's one for turtle. So cute, right? So he's showing the hands there next to the turtle, so you can see how iconic, how transparent that sign is, the meaning of that sign compared to the animal. Chuck did all sorts of amazing things. The one there on the left is whale. The one on the right, I love this, the crocodile, because you can see the crocodile above the water and then the sign in the reflection of the water. All right, Chuck did many, many, many paintings, but I don't want to show you too many of them because I don't want to give you too many ideas. I want you to come up with your own. This is the assignment that we're going to do on this. I want you to create a drawing that incorporates an image of an object and the sign that represents that object. So just in the style of Chuck Baird, that's what I want you to do. If you have been in my classroom, many of you have not, I understand that, but if you have been in my classroom, there is a whole wall behind me. That bulletin board behind my desk is full of students' Chuck Baird images. So I want you to think about signs and show the sign with what that sign means. Okay, so like, we all can't be Chuck Baird. We all can't draw that amazing. I know I certainly can't. So please don't freak out and saying, oh, I can't do this, I'm not a good artist. I am not grading your artistic skill. This is not an art class. But I want to see that you can represent ideas visually. If you just need to trace your hand and then kind of go from there, okay, right? It doesn't have to be very fancy. I just want you to be creative with the ideas. So again, the idea is to think visually. So that's your assignment. If you need help on a sign, feel free to drop me an email and I'll send you a video back so you can see what that sign is. Or go to an online dictionary like signingsavvy.com and look up some signs and play with it and see what something that interests you. It can be a sign we learned or something new, but try and go for transparent signs. That's going to make this project a whole lot easier on you. So good luck. I hope you have fun with this, and I look forward to seeing what you've done. Happy signing.